So I'm your student 7th grade ELA teacher, Miss Jacobs. The first thing I want to go over today is our structure. So language arts is a little different than social studies and science because your student, while we're virtually learning from home, your student will only have science and social studies every other day. So they either have it on A day or B day. ELA is a little bit different because when we're in the classroom, I get them for twice as long. I get them for 2 periods for reading and writing. So since we're virtually learning, I see them every day for an hour and 10 minutes. So I'll get to see your student every single day to make sure they get their reading and writing component for ELA. My block 1 and my block 2 are like that. The problem in the schedule is block 3. So block 3, I get to see every other day. I only get to see them on B days, but when I do get to see them, I see them for 2 hours and 20 minutes instead of an hour and 10. So I get to them for the same time. It's just in one day. So they'll be doing both the lessons that I've taught the day before and that day. So for the ELA workshop structure, ELA is different in the sense that when your student comes into class, the first thing they do is a do now as like a warm up. And then the next thing we do is a mini lesson. This mini lesson is usually 7 to 12 minutes, and students regulate and practice self-regulation and listening while the teacher is giving them a new strategy or a new skill. So it's introducing a new thing for students to learn. They're modeling that skill, they're scaffolding it, they're making sure that the student gets the steps of the strategy so they can later use it during independent work time. So independent work time when we're in the classroom is usually about 20-25 minutes. It'll probably be about 25-30 minutes during virtual time because we have an hour and 10 minutes. But during this time, the student is now working independently on that skill that the teacher taught them during the mini lesson. They're trying it out for themselves. So also while this is happening, students are practicing self-discipline, they're checking their stamina, they're keeping on task, they're getting their work done. While this is happening, I will be working with students in small groups or one-on-one conferences. So I'll have small groups with students that are ready to take it to the next step, or maybe they need a little bit more help with the strategy. And then I'll also be working with conferences for reading and writing conferences as well. And then at the very end of class, we'll have a share, which is 2 to 5 minutes. And students, practice that collaborative mindset. So they share out, what did you accomplish today? What are you going to try and do tomorrow? Kind of tying up all the loose ends of the lesson. So that's our structure for ELA. For our curriculum, students are continuing with the same curriculum program from elementary and 6th grade. So we're doing Lucy Calkins for reading and units of study for writing. For the Teachers College units of studying for writing, we're still going to maintain that workshop model during the writing lessons, but students will build their pieces in class, their writing projects. We'll start brainstorming, then drafting, then revising, then editing, then maybe conferencing. We'll publish it. We'll do some more conferences. We'll publish it again for the final publication. And then on the reading aspect, for our college units of study for reading, we'll do reading in depth. We'll jot about our reading. Students will have a choice of what books they read, and then we'll also do several book clubs, just kind of practicing our reading skills. Our course content. So with this year being virtual, we're taking out some of our units of study, but this is just kind of a loosely based course content that we've created so far. More things might be added depending on how virtual learning goes or if we ever make it back into the classroom this year. So we're going to start the school year with a whole class novel called Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie. So your student needs that by September 8th. If your student is having trouble or you're having trouble getting that book, please email me. I do have some student copies that I am willing to drop off. We're also going to be doing a historical fiction book club group where they'll get to pick a book from a certain time era that they're interested in, and they'll do some writing with that. We're going to do a realistic fiction writing unit. We're going to talk about research and argumentative writing. We're going to do our hero speeches, hopefully at the end of the school year like we usually do in 7th grade. And then we'll talk about characterization and author study as well. For your expectations and your grades, my expectations for students is that students come to class on time, ready to get started, and with their needed materials. They have everything they need. They work in a stamina independent work area that works for them. So if they have a desk in their room, that's awesome, or they just have a quiet place at home where they can set it up and be successful for the day, that works too. Students participate in whole class and small group activities, and then continue to encourage your student to ask questions or email teachers if they have questions or concerns. So we are here for you. You can email me. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Any and all problems, just shoot me an email. As grading goes, there's not a lot of grades for ELA because we work on really long-term writing and long-term projects. It's not like in math where you learn, about decimals and then you take a test on it. We don't really do that. But some grades could consist of participation, reading checks, notebook checks, so making sure they're doing their work in their notebook, or RNEs, which is a reader's notebook entry, just kind of taking all their thoughts from their books and putting it down in their notebook. And then, of course, long-term writing activities like papers and essays and stories and things like that. The one thing about writing activities is because they're long-term, we go through the process of brainstorming, then drafting, revising, doing peer revisions, and it becomes a longer process than just a week. With that being said, we allow students to turn in their first draft or what they think is their final draft. The teacher looks it over. We meet with the students. We have a conference. They get feedback. And then students are allowed to then make changes and more revisions to turn it in for a final published grade. So they kind of get 2 rounds of grading the first grade after the conferencing, and then they can use that feedback to turn it again to kind of improve their writing. Because we really want to make sure that students are seeing a change and a progression in their writing. It's not to stamp a grade on it and then we're done. We really want to see that progression and that progress of them meeting their goals. So that's how we do most of our grading at ELA. And that's all I have for you. If you have any questions or concerns, be more than welcome to email me and I will get back to you. Thanks.